So welcome to Tango Music Analysis. I used to be when I was still DJing, before Corona, obviously, but also because of my illness, I had to stop a few years ago. Before that, while I was DJing and active on Facebook writing, I would, often uh, when I was listening to an interesting song, or when I was temporarily really impressed with one song or another, I would often um, write an analysis of the music, of what happens in this song musically, not in a sense of technical, not with technical terms, but what happens in terms of listening, because it's also something I used to do sometimes when I was DJing and someone came to me and would explain, like, you can hear this or that or listen to this or that. And not in a very technical sense, because I'm not trained as a musician, even though I'm an adult learner of piano, and I try to compensate for not having this knowledge. I think in the end the most important thing is the listening experience. Um, and I used to write about it in my, on Facebook, and people really like my writing style. Um, but actually, I've been looking for some new ways to get some messages across, and in this case, I want to use a broadcast format. Um, to try and yeah, I want to not only like give you a song and describe what happens in text, but I want to, be live with something, and in a sense pretend we are listening to this together in a milonga, and I can just tell you what happens. And I think it's the most interactive possible thing I could do with this, and it took me some time to develop this idea, but I now finally I'm trying it for the first time. So as you can see, I'm a bit nervous, but I hope to ease a bit into it. Um, so, um, I was also quite known for for writing articles about tango music, and I will definitely continue doing so. This has been on hold for a while, but from this summer, like late summer, September, something like that, I'll resume writing about certain things I find interesting, or with material I found myself. And this series will not replace that format, um, because, for example, with what I'm going to say today, there are many different topics I touch upon, like people in tango music, or styles of music. And if I want to write about it more in depth, so if I want to speak or talk, whatever, about it more in depth, I'll write it, because it gives me more time to think about what I'm going to say and how to get it across. This is more, well, superficial is not the right word, but this is more, it's more general. Um, and, for today, as a first song, I want to discuss a tango from 1932 called Secreto, um, recorded by the orchestra of Canaro, with the young singer Fama, which you can see here. This is Canaro in the right. I'm not sure whether you can see my mouse. I'm still new to this, so forgive me. And you see a very young Fama, Ernesto Fama, standing next to him. And this is a precious photo, because there are not a lot of photos that are so authentic in a way, like nothing's posed. And you see how the kid, because he looks like he's 15 or something, like he uses this book, for the lyrics. So this photo really shows a moment when the lyrics really come alive in a way. Um, and I've chosen this song because it's a very, very interesting piece, especially for its year, because 1932 is a few years before the golden age really started. And nonetheless, in this particular song, you have this kind of, there's like a mature thing going on, like musically it's more mature than most of the other songs from these years. Um, and it's hard to pin down exactly why, but I think I'm going to try to explain that today. Um, and in terms of Canaro, I think I haven't written about that yet. I have all these ideas and articles I haven't finished, but as you can see in his years, there was a transition from like an old style, which a lot of people in the tango world nowadays tend to find a little boring, and some of it, you could say is pretty like monotonous or boring or like hasn't doesn't have a lot of identity of its own. But this song is very strong. It's special, and you can see like these orchestra directors they're starting to mature towards something new, and this would culminate in the golden age, and you would get most dance music we dance to today. So this song is quite interesting in the sense that it was like the music and the lyrics were both written by Discepolo, which was a famous poet with a very interesting style of his own. And sometimes, well, often you would see that like the music was made by a composer and the lyrics were made by a poet or lyricist. And in some cases, they're the same person. And I think these two things, these two sides, like you have poetry, music, and poetry. They're more synced together in a way. Like it's very interesting how they're like they feel more like a whole than in a whole with a W than a than in other cases, especially in the early years. And what's interesting about this song is that it's quite dark. So the topic of the lyrics is dark. We'll get back to that later. Um, but the whole ambience in the song it has a very strong feeling. And Discepolo is known for having written a bunch of tangos which are very dark or maybe cynical even. And a lot of tango music isn't exactly on the cheerful side, but this yeah, I like that there's a certain darkness in this song. It's you know you can try to listen for yourself what I mean. Um, but what I'm going to do with you today, because I don't want these videos to be too long, I'm going to listen to you to this together, and just try to describe what happens in the music. And before that, I wanted to show you a few pictures. Um, this is Canaro and Fama together, most likely also in these years, because Fama, well, he formed his own orchestra like as a solist, and then Maida replaced him, and then like the golden age for Canaro really began. And then afterwards, in 1939, Fama returned, and he had a second phase of 2 years with Canaro. So there's a lot of great music from both the early years and the later years. And this song we're talking about today is especially on the more unique side. It's a very peculiar song. Otherwise, I wouldn't have chosen it, of course. And here's another picture and another picture. Nope. It's a precious photo. Like you can just notice he's really young, and a lot of these singers were very young, even though this ambience of tango was totally not, in a sense, not suited for children, for underage people. Like it's this real nightclub life. So it's like nowadays it would be very strange to see this combination. Um, I have another picture too, which I'm going to show you later. But let's just look at the music for a second. So this song is quite upbeat. So Canaro used to be quite upbeat as well, but this one it gets even more upbeat. It's like almost like D'Arienzo upbeat, and at the same time there's also a strong lyricism in it. So it really tells a story, and it's like a bit melancholic. So there's all kinds of elements in it. So Just gonna check how long we've been recording. Well, that's very long, 10 minutes. So let's start listening to this. No, not this. Okay, that's awkward. This is the song. So here are two elements already. Like you can hear this. So that's like the lyrical part. And then here you have a now it becomes very very staccato again. So now this is very interesting in music in general, not just tango, but you know, some of the music of like the golden age is a bit more sophisticated than this, but you see a very interesting thing happening here, which I call question and answer or statement and answer. So let's listen to what happens now. So this is you hear a very low bandoneon sound. I'll just play that again. It's a bit laggy, unfortunately, because I'm recording probably, but you hear this phrase of the bandoneon. No, not that. This. And this is the answer, you know? And now, you know, there's another statement or there's a second question by this bandoneon. Another answer. This is more neutral. You hear a violin now. You know, if you're not hearing these instruments, what is a bandoneon or what's a violin? Because I've seen like two groups of people, like one group that has no idea what I'm talking about, and one group that says like, yeah, duh, like of course I hear this. But no, I didn't hear this either when I started listening to this music, you know. I didn't even hear the basic beat. I had to learn everything, so you can learn everything too. If I can learn it, you can learn it too. But I think it's amazing to be able to describe this as it happens. Like I'm you know, it's not just about what the instrument is, but what is it telling? Like try to find for a sentiment. Like doesn't matter that it's a bandoneon in a sense, but it's telling you a story. And it's giving you like it's getting a message across. And what does it want to tell you? But it often depends on the lyrics, but you can also, even if you don't understand Spanish, like many of you do, like you can try to, you know, what is this? What is the ambience of this music? What's the color of this music? All these things. So this is interesting. You hear a piano now. So you hear like this bandoneon, so you have the repetition of this element, but then you also get a piano now. You know, it's like two phrases at once. Come on. Yes. Now. And now this, you know, it's not just a bandoneon, by the way, it's also a violin. It's like the rest of the orchestra, several instruments are making this, repeating a story, and then you have a variation in the sense of you have piano now. Again, piano. But this is also a violin effect actually. But the details don't always matter that much. It's this lyrical thing that makes this song so strong. Like it's very upbeat music. It's almost cheerful, but you also have these stories which are like, let me repeat that. No puedo ser más vil, no puedo ser mejor. So this is the lyrics. I actually, I don't always have this, so I look like some kind of magician if I just take this out of nowhere, but I just happen to have this. This is the sheet music. And it says Letra y música de Enrique Santos Discepolo. Sorry, I didn't remember that second name. It also says, it's made by Tanya. I'll explain that later. And then you have the music inside. And this is just precious. You can see the lyrics and the music. You can buy these things in Buenos Aires like I did. I don't have a lot of them, but they're absolutely amazing material. But, of course, the lyrics help you discover what the song is about. So, this song is about, I'll translate a bit of the lyrics, like these videos are supposed to be general, so I'm not going to give a full translation of the lyrics because, as I will explain another time, translation is very difficult. It takes a lot of work. Things are very ambiguous. It's very difficult. So I'm not going to give a full translation now because that would be a lot of work, but I can give you an impression of what it's about. So this song is about a man who has a family, who has a loyal wife, and he seems to have his life together. But he fell in love with another woman, and this woman has destroyed his life, so to say. This is very common in Tango. It's always her fault, so it's not your fault, it's her fault. Well, anyway, there's no time for self-reflection here, but this is how the poetry was like. It's more dramatic, This woman who has destroyed my life. Now, how do they say it? Like, what's a good I have the full lyric here, and in these songs you only have the refrain because the lyric was the singing was usually still limited to only the refrain. It's called Estribillo. Yeah, this is very nice. This is what he says. For you, I have destroyed the life of my wife. This is not a poetic translation, but it's just what it's about. And this is even more. This is quite special. And it is bread for my two sons, for my two children. All the luxury I've given you. So probably about jewelry or something, but that's probably not a good idea if you need to feed your children. But he's essentially saying, I should have invested that in something else. And this is beautiful. No puedo reaccionar ni puedo comprender. Perdido en la tormenta de tu voz que me embrujó. So it's like I cannot even react. I cannot understand like how this voice of yours has bewitched me, has put me under a spell. And what's interesting about we'll hear a bit of the lyrics later. It's very short, but I found out thanks to the blog Tangos Arbardo that Discepolo said in an interview that this song was dedicated to a friend of his who actually was the person who lived this history, this story. So a very like common type of man with a job and a house and a wife and two children, but he fell in love with someone else, and he tried to hide it, and actually he successfully hid it. But he got very how would I say that, like he suffered from like this self-reproach or something. Like he had a hard time with his conscience. So what he did in the end was he tried to tangos are always dramatic, so don't take it too seriously, don't take it too literally. But in this case, apparently it really happened. You don't know whether you can believe it or not, but apparently this friend of Discepolo the poet, he tried to shoot himself with a gun, and Discepolo walked in and stopped him from doing it. And this is actually, in the unsung part, this is what they say, like what he writes, like it's like your cursed shadow that obsesses me. I was determined um to make it fade away or something like that, to erase it with a shot. So it's very literally about the gun. That's something you don't really see often in tango. Um, but in this case, like I cannot. Um, well, it's actually interesting now that I read it again. It says like the weapon, like it lowers like in betrayal. So that it sounded to me originally like you know he wanted to shoot himself, but he couldn't. But in this case, maybe this betrayal should be seen as his friend who kept him from doing this. So it's very interesting poetic language, and this goes to show why it's so hard to translate poetry, because there are several lines in this song that are you know that you could translate in several ways. That's what poetry is like. So if we listen to how it's being sung here. So
ser más vil, ni puedo ser mejor, vencido en la tormenta. No puedo ser más vil, ni puedo ser mejor, vencido por tu hechizo que trastorna mi deber, por vos a mi mujer. Pero...
So, for example, he says like, no puedo ser, I already said it in the beginning, like, no puedo ser más vil, no puedo ser mejor. Like, this is literally something like, I couldn't be more vile, and I couldn't be, better than this. So these are words which you could translate them like this, but they you can go in several directions with this. And some things in his lyric, like this should have spent this on food for my children instead. Like that's quite, you can translate it quite literally, but some things are more poetic. And
No puedo ser más vil, ni puedo ser mejor, vencido por tu hechizo que trastorna mi deber, por vos a mi mujer, la vida destrozado, y es pan de mis dos hijos todo el lujo que te he dado. No puedo reaccionar, ni puedo comprender, perdido en la tormenta.
something else. The way this, it's so like this guy is like 16 or something. This is very usual in tango, also with Roberto Rufino and the Di Sarli Orchestra. Like they sing about these things, and they don't just sing it, but they feel it. Like I can feel it, how he feels it here. No puedo reaccionar.
Ni puedo comprender,
perdido en la tormenta de la voz, de tu voz que me embrujó. So you could say it very literally, like, what is it? Like, no puedo reaccionar ni puedo comprender, perdido en la tormenta de tu voz que me embrujó. But no, but this singer is putting all his like emphasis in these lines, which are, like I said earlier, they're saying something like, I'm lost in the storm of your spell. And the spell of your voice. I'm lost in the storm of the spell of your voice, which sounds a bit like pathetic when I translate it like this. But in the song, it's it's very touching. You hear the desperation in Fama's voice. florecen con mi perdición. I think I think this is absolutely beautiful. Like con mi perdición. Like he's already transitioning into what comes next in the rest of the song, which is short. It's just the conclusion. But I feel like he's phasing out his singing. It's absolutely amazing, and goes to show that you don't need a lot of singing to make a very great tango song, also for dancing. And now you get the staccato again. Do you hear the trumpet or the clarinet? I don't know. It's like a question and answer, but here's the bandoneon again. It's a story, the lyrical story, and this is beautiful. This is called a bandoneon variation, which it's like a fast bandoneon playing, which you get usually at the end of a lot of tangos. So it's like you have like, I want to use the word opera, but it's like it's a piece of theater. It's an opera or whatever. It's like everything in just 2 minutes and 30 seconds. You know, it's there's so much in it. There's so much depth in it. There's several layers in it. There's a lot going on musically. So I hope this helps you, understand the music a bit better. And this is obviously not going to be the last time, nor the first time. Well, this is the first time I did it like this, but I'm quite experienced writing these things out. But I wanted to really make you hear things that I hear myself, as well as understand it more culturally, like with the lyrics and the music background. There's a lot going on. And, one last thing. So it says, a brilliant creation of Tanya. And like I cannot, like, the author of this music is Discepolo, but nowhere else on the internet does it say, a brilliant song by Tanya. Like, this is just because I have the sheet music as a coincidence. But it turns out if you look, I need to write an article about this. I definitely do. Tanya and Discepolo. Tanya was a Spanish-born actress and singer who lived to be like 105 years old. That's insane. But she used to be, she was a very independent, strong woman, which was very unusual in those times. But she didn't want to settle down or marry. But she spent several decades like in a relationship like with Discepolo, with the poet of this song. Um, and he wanted to commit, but she did not want to commit, and she left him several times. And this is a very dramatic story. But I also feel like this, try, if you know these things, like try to hear this in the music. Like, I'm sure that even if this is true, that this was written about a friend of Discepolo, his story, it sounds like there's things going on from the poet's own life in this as well. So that's what I wanted to say for today. There's a lot of depth in this music, and I haven't really talked about dancing that much. And I did want to show you something, because maybe as a little conclusion, like, you have this, you can see, let me just take like 20 seconds for this or something, because I don't want to make this too long. There's like 20 minutes to talk just about what they do with the music, but let me just show you a little thing. Like, this is very lyrical. Like, they're moving very slowly, and this is like the phrase I was talking about, this bandoneon. And now it becomes very explosive. And now it becomes very slow. And that's exactly what I want you to do. And I want you to learn as an audience what to do with this music. Not not just leaders, also followers, everyone. Tango is an exceptional dance because this music just gives you a story that you can move to. And you can see in this example, it might be a little exaggerated because that's their style of this couple. I don't know a lot about dance, but I know these two, and they have a bit of, it's quite interesting how they take the music quite literally. But even you as a normal dancer and me, we can take all these elements from the music and dance to it, not just because they're there, but because they're leading a story for you. You don't even need all these figures. Music's telling you what to do in a sense, and you decide which elements to take and what to do, and it's an endless dance because every song is different. You have all these different stories and all these different songs, like it's endless. So, well, definitely. Let me see if I had something else here. Yeah, this is a picture of Discepolo and Tanya, and to be continued. But for now, I'm going to end this here, and well, I hope you enjoyed this program. It was like usual, a bit longer than I planned to, but I hope you enjoyed it, and see you next time.